Today's video was selected for you by my gorgeous patrons, so thank you very much to them for making this selection. And if you would like to be involved in future video polls and also have access to the Discord, the one card riff video every month and other privileges as well, check out the tiers. I will leave all the information down below. Hello, my darling drama kings, drama queens, and drama creatures of the beyond and in between. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for this exploration of the dramatic in witchcraft and magic. Oh my God, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Except I do know it. I am actually a poet. So today, I am very, very pleased that this is the video that I'm doing for the latest Patreon poll. And I want to thank my Pop-Tarts and Doll Faces for choosing this video because I'm very excited to make it. For me, one of the key tools in my practice that I found has made a very significant difference is drama, okay? Bringing the drama, making it bigger, bolder, more intense, okay? Hamming it up, making it theatrical, darling, okay? And that doesn't mean faking it, not necessarily, okay? It means making it more of what you want it to be, really showing up and saying, you know what, more is more. I'm a maximalist magician. So today we're going to talk about that a bit. We're going to talk about the benefits of bringing the drama to your practice, how you can make that happen, and some obstacles or pitfalls that you might find along the way and how to deal with them. Because I, for as long as I can remember, have been a little bit, you know, to be or not to be, that is the question.
Are you getting dramatic?
And I'm like that with everything, okay? That is part of my personality. It's not just specific to my witchhood. But I think there is something very tantalizing about bringing it into the exploration of who you are in your witchhood and your mysticism. And bringing drama to the practice that you're carrying out can really make all the difference. So first thing I want to say about this, my darlings, is I'm not just talking about physical witchcraft. I'm not talking about things that you do in the material realm where you sit down at an altar or you go to your kitchen, if you're more of a kitchen witch or whatever it is you're doing, and you actually physically carry something out using tools or props or ingredients or whatever you want to do, or just, you know, hand gestures and body movements. I'm also talking about astral stuff. I know a lot of you work with astral altars. I have one myself. I have certain astral jumping points, if you will, places of great power that I go to in the non-physical but still very real realms. And I do a lot of my shit there. And actually, sometimes it's really useful to be able to do shit there because I want to be more dramatic than my physical circumstances will allow me to be. So it's very useful that I actually work on the astral as well. So all of the tips and tricks here that I'm giving to you, they're not just for magic in the physical. They are for magic and ritual and readings, etc., wherever and however you want to do them. And devotionals as well, all of that stuff. Anything that you can put under the practice of the craft, we are talking about today. And we're just talking about bringing more to it, turning it up, making it bolder, exaggerating it, amplifying it, bringing the theatrical element to it. So you can do that in the astral and you can do that in the physical and you can do tantalizing mixtures of both, darling. And for those of you who think to yourself, well, Kellyanne, I mean, I don't need to learn how to be more dramatic, darling. That is my life. Then congratulations, you're a Leo. I'm joking. I love you, my Leos. I love you. But, you know, maybe you're just thinking, Pickle, I just came for the headdress. In which case, thank you. This is a piece by STICKYPINZ. I will leave the Etsy shop down below and you can go and pick yourself up something from her. She is a very clever costume designer. And I decided to get this from her for a Samhain gift for myself. And this is Minty the Skull. And he's feeling fabulous today, fabulously dramatic himself. So yeah, maybe some of you do not need this help, but if you do, buckle up, listen in, knuckle down, and let's do this. There are a great many good reasons why you might choose to make something a little bit more stagey, a little bit amplified. You might want to ham it up, you might want to beef it up. So let's talk about the reasons first and foremost, okay? Reason number one for why I would suggest that your craft might need a little bit of the drama, okay, a little bit of the spice, is fun, because it's fucking fun. Because why not have some fun? I've said on the channel before that it is not our job as witches to be somber and serious all the time. And it's not necessarily a boon to your practice to be understated. You can be understated and subtle and very pared down if you want to be. And you can still be holding all of that power and all of that energy in you for the working that you want to do. I would never suggest for a moment that if you're not super into the drama, you know, the performance of it, then you're not a good witch. I would never say that. But I do think that some people feel that they have to go for the art of subtlety and they have to make it kind of like small and discreet. And you don't have to. You know, you can go big. You can go hard or go home, baby. And one of the reasons to do it is it's really fun. It's great to like exaggerate the arm movements, you know, and really like get into it. And I just think that one of the reasons that we would do it is joy, for our practice to be joy filled. Another reason to do it is creativity. You know, whenever you're thinking about how you can add more to something, how you can make something bigger or more high impact, you are entering into your creative faculties. And when you're into creativity, then you're really learning about yourself. You're discovering what it is that's really switching you on and plugging you in right now. What are the references that you're leaning into as you're thinking about what you might want to do and what flavor you want it to have? You're really pushing yourself to envision something bigger than what you primarily imagined or what you read in a book that you want to try out. You're really thinking about coloring it in, being a real designer, you know, and being that magician of vision who decides that you're going to orchestrate something and it's going to be majestic. It's going to be big. It's going to be really angry, or it's going to be really sexy, or whatever it is. When you are doing that, you're being highly, highly creative. You're painting a scene in your mind and then wanting to bring it into vision with what you're doing. Another reason for bringing drama into your practice a little more is it's cathartic. It's incredibly cathartic to just really step fully into what you're doing and bring theatrics into every gesture, every word, every motion, you know. I'm one of those witches that does not own a wand. I've never owned a wand. And that is because I love using my hands. And the reason I love using my hands is, first of all, they're a part of my body. So I really feel like I can push the energy through into my hands, into my palms, and into my fingers. But another reason is, for me, it just looks more dramatic and it feels more dramatic.
You getting dramatic?
I like sweeping my arm over the cauldron, you know, in a stirring motion. I like pushing things away from me when I'm banishing or releasing, and pulling things to me, dragging things in from the cosmos and feeding them to my heart, you know. And it helps if I add the extra drama to my hands. So if the nails are on point and the rings are on point, maybe I've got some sigils drawn on there, you know, maybe I've got some gold paint on there, whatever it might be. It creates a certain cinematic feeling of motion and momentum and power inside of me that I've never felt that holding a wand would do. I do have a ceremonial blade, okay? It was given to me by my beautiful Ukrainian friend. And, oh my God, I have to ring Vlad back. Okay, note to self, let me just put that aside for a moment. Always ring back your Ukrainian magicians, okay? Very important. But yes, I do have a blade because I love the drama with that. It was a gift and I'm very delighted to own that. But because with a wand, I've always felt like my hands do the job better and I can put the drama in. I realise that is partly about catharsis, you know. Oh, by the way, my Ouroboros tattoos really bring extra drama, okay? It's all about the theatrics, all right? You want to get your hands as witchy looking as possible. So, yeah, I think catharsis is part of it. Part of what it means to bring the drama, I think, is having something physiological to really go with, you know. You're really like almost exercising something out of your body when you're being dramatic with your body, either astrally or materially. And so when you're swirling, you know, or when you're like, I've been known to punch the altar on a couple of occasions as I'm saying what the fuck it is I'm saying, you know, those things, you're actually physiologically getting something out of you in that moment. And that's really useful. I think that it can really just allow you to externalize what is internal. One really good reason to bring the drama and get a little bit more amped up and a bit theatrical is motivation to do the craft itself, okay? I work with a lot of clients doing witchy mentoring. I'm so privileged that is actually part of my full-time job. It's really given me so much understanding of the issues that witches deal with and being able to bring a lot of brainstorming to how I can help witches to come through that stuff. And one thing that I discuss with witches regularly is losing motivation to do the craft for one reason or another. You know, either it's nothing is grabbing them, they're going through life changes, they've been through a life change and they're just coming back to the craft and they want to get back into that sort of magical groove, right? one reason that drama could be really good for you in your practice is if you're just not practicing that much and you want to feel inspired and drawn to practice. Because when you're bringing drama, the element of drama into your practice, it becomes exciting to do it. You feel very curious about what the results could be. You feel very excited because you're going to get dressed up dramatically, or you're going to do something in a way that brings more drama and more intensity. It feels more stagey. It feels like something that is exciting, that you're walking into to really own and claim the space and your voice in the craft. And so you feel moved to do it. So instead of planning something out or thinking you're going to do something and then being like, oh, you know what, I didn't do it, I don't want to do it. Instead, you can be like, oh my God, I can't wait to try that, because that's going to be big and it's going to be meaty and it's going to be weird and it's going to be maybe thrilling. And it very often is thrilling, to be in the full drama of the craft and really express it that way. So for those of you who are feeling a little bit like meh about your craft right now, maybe drama is what is necessary. Being more dramatic in your witchcraft really shows you hidden layers of yourself as well. I think that it can really help us to psychologically push the boat out to the point where we really are exploring ourselves and expanding our sense of what we need. If you are looking, for example, at a reading that you're going to do, and you were just going to do it in the ordinary way, maybe you're going to set up sacred space, maybe you're not, maybe you're going to start with words of power or a meditation, maybe not, and then you're going to sit and you're going to look at your ball, or you're going to, get your cards out, whatever. You're going to do it in the normal way. You might have a rip-roaring good reading. You might learn a lot from that reading, or you might not. It might be one more of a slow burn, as I call it, where it's like, well, you know what, maybe that will come together at another point. But if you decide, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick on Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. I'm going to turn all the lights off. And then at the exact moment in Tubular Bells where it feels like someone's jumping off a cliff into the air and they're flying, at that part of it, I'm going to put some lights on and I'm going to do an interpretive dance around the deck, which is going to allow me to really explore what I want from the reading. And then as Tubular Bells is ending, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to put on my headdress, and that means that I'm in readiness to bring the spirits forth into the deck, whatever it is, right? You've designed something that is dramatic. That is dramatic. We're being theatrical. We're doing bigger movements. We're bringing things in. We're getting really cinematic, yeah? In that sort of mode of doing things, I think you can explore yourself. For example, if you're dancing around the deck, really feeling into this is what I'm bringing to this reading, and I'm really bringing my whole self to this reading, I'm bringing my desire to know what the cards have got to say. In the moment of doing that dance, you can really figure out how the fuck you feel and what you really want out of life and what really means more to you than anything, what's coming up as you're doing that dance. I think that is so much more of a potential for self-exploration than just being like, I'm going to do a reading, I'll light my working candle and I'll do the reading. There's nothing wrong with that either. I'm not being snobby about it. I'm not saying, if you do that, you're just boring. Boring. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, isn't it amazing to give yourself these extra doorways to understand something new and therein to understand if you want to do that more? I've started doing a lot of free dancing, free movement in my rituals ever since lockdown. I didn't really do it that much before lockdown, but during lockdown, because I wasn't able to go to the gym, I wasn't going out walking much, everything was very locked down. I realized that I had a lot of pent up energy in my body. And so I was doing a lot of movement. I started really getting into free dance, free movement, and I was looking at videos of it on Instagram, and I started putting it into my rituals. I found that really helped me to understand what is going on with me and how I feel. And it also helped me to understand that I want more movement in my craft. I don't want to be so sedentary when I'm doing things. I don't always want to be sat at my altar. I want to be in movement. I want my body to be involved. So in opening up the door to doing something a little bit more dramatic, maybe I feel a bit silly, whatever. In opening up the door to that, I realized I need more of it. So it's a really excellent opportunity for exploration of what you need in your life and what you need in your craft. Finally, I think the more dramatic you can be as a witch, the more you can bring those bigger, bolder, more intense gestures or words or whatever to your craft. I think the more you can accept yourself as a witch as well. It's partly about self-esteem as a witch, I think, and acceptance. I've personally had so many times in my journey as a witch where I felt silly. And it was just me, just me in a room. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'm alone in my room, right? But I felt daft. It was self-surveillance, right? I was self-surveilling. And I think that really breaking through that, I've said this to witches a lot, when you're in self-surveillance, the only way to deal with that is to go through it. You must feel silly and you must do it anyway. And then you realize what the outcome of that is and how amazing it is. And you never let that feeling of silliness take that away from you again, right? You can't wait until the feeling of being silly ends. You must feel silly, but do the fucking thing anyway, right? And I think that that's part of self-acceptance, is to be like, I'm going to do this thing. And it's going to be, I'm going to drape the cloak over me and I'm going to read this poem. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go,
Are you getting dramatic?
Ala Shazam, Ala Kazoo, or whatever. That's what I'm going to do, right? And you have to let yourself do that because you want to see what's going to happen. You want to understand if that could bring anything to the proceedings. You know that that might be the way that you could bring more energy and more potency to what you're doing. And I think in that comes a great deal of self-acceptance. I don't really judge myself anymore. I do whatever fucking silly thing I like. You know, like I really just apply whatever it is to the working that I think needs to be there to get the correct feeling from me and allow me to direct the energy with intention and potency. And I got that from doing things a lot of the time when I did feel silly and accepting myself as a witch, accepting that like, this is my journey and I'll do what the fuck I like. Thank you very much. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between scripted drama and spontaneous drama. It's very exciting to think about some different and innovative, more fizzy, high intensity things that you want to do and actually plan them. That can be really thrilling. Like it can really be inspiring. You can get excited to try it out. And I definitely would recommend that. But don't be afraid as well to go spontaneous. If you just feel one day like you want to do something in that moment and it really reflects how you feel inside and it's a little different or a little bit, maybe you feel over the top, but you really want to go for it, just go for it. And if you're doing something and it is quite scripted, for example, you're doing a ritual or you're doing a spell and you have planned it out, you've brought ingredients to it, you've brought the wording to it and you're going through the steps, but you feel suddenly like you want to stand up and start, saying the words a little louder, or you want to walk around and say them, or maybe you want to just like stop what you're doing for a second in the ritual and go and get a piece of clothing or jewelry and put it on. And you feel suddenly like there's something that you feel called to do in that moment. Don't be afraid to do it. Go with your feeling that that's what you want to do. I've found that some of the most sort of drama infused things that I've done in my practice have been done quite spontaneously. I have just suddenly started doing something and I'm not even sure what it is. And it's exciting. I often think that it's interesting whenever I'm planning out a longer ritual to have room for something unscripted to happen. And that's literally what I will write when I'm planning out the ritual. I'll just write unscripted. And that means I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here. And maybe what I'm going to want to do with that room is just, breathe, take some breaths and really just sort of call something into myself to steady myself or to be grounded, whatever. But it might be the case that I want to start reciting Shakespeare. And yes, I have started reciting Shakespeare before in the middle of a ritual, all right? I'm not going to apologize. Sometimes things just really interestingly happen and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, that's really what I felt coming through. That's what I wanted to bring to the proceedings, You might want to start singing. You might want to start chanting. You might want to grab a pillow and start screaming. I mean, there's definitely something sacred about the pillow scream. I'll tell you that. We don't want to scream without the pillow because that would be blood curdling and people would think we're being murdered. But, we might want to do something physical that sort of like exercises something, as I said previously. So definitely don't be afraid. If you find words coming to mind and you start, speaking them, or if you want to write something, you want to do some channeled writing, whatever it is, maybe you want to start singing a song that's coming to mind in that moment. Maybe you want to get up and start stamping your feet or doing a dance or I don't know, whatever it is you want to do that you feel like, oh, that wasn't part of the plan. Why would I want to do that? What am I doing? Take it as your witch's instinct and go with it. You in that moment are the chef and the chef can taste a stew and be like, you know what this needs? This needs a little bit of fucking something. You are allowed to do that. You're allowed to decide in a moment of carrying something out that there is something missing and you're going to start putting it in, and you're going to sort of raise the level of drama and very often, therefore, the level of feeling or the level of commitment that you're going to be giving to this thing. Here are some decisions that you can make, okay, if you want to really bring a little bit more fizz and you feel like this is resonating. First of all, don't be afraid to use props, okay? Don't be afraid to decide, like, I'm going to have a hat or a cloak or something like that. I'm going to have a pocket watch that I bring out at a certain point. I'm going to have like a candle holder and I'm going to hold it, you know, and like walk around the circle with it, that kind of thing. I'm going to have a drum and I'm going to use my drum, you know, bring things in. I'm looking around the room for things I could use. Oh, I've got a moon light over there, like an orb of the moon. Definitely could charge that up and like hold it. It would look like a big, awesome crystal ball. What else? Let me have a look around. I've got lots of books of poetry I could read aloud from, so they make great props. I've got all sorts of imagery, all kinds of art. There's all kinds of different things that would make really, really good props. Props actually ask you to be a bit more theatrical by default, especially if you're going to touch them, move them around, rearrange them, play with them. Then you're almost sort of like inviting a more dramatic execution of the working or the reading or the devotional or whatever in that moment of using the prop. And don't be afraid to use props that you never thought you would use, things that kind of like don't really make sense to you in terms of what has been done historically in your practice, but you want to branch out and you want to try different things. I remember at a certain point in my practice, and this is so dramatic, guys, but at a certain point in my practice, I really enjoyed using a blindfold. Then I went off it because I started freaking myself out because I am afraid of the dark. And I live alone, so it can get a little bit like, ooh, what's going on there? I know, a witch who's afraid of the dark. Like, it's just really, it's so uncool. But I did use a blindfold for a while. That was amazing. It was so symbolic. It was so high octane, and I would often use it in conjunction with mirror work. You know, I think those kinds of things. I've also got a mirror with like a light up mirror. It's got like lights all over the side of it. To sort of hark back to the old school Hollywood mirrors, you know, really love using that. I still get that out once in a while and do mirror work with that. I think that it's really interesting what you can get your hands on that makes a really good prop. I also really like teapot and teacup. I love ceremonial consecrated tea. And I really love, you know, pouring the tea into the cup and then just sort of moving my hand over it a few times, talking to the tea, programming it for what I want it to do as it enters my body, and then drinking the tea. A teapot and teacup are very fucking witchy, and may goddess strike me down were it to be otherwise. She did not strike me down, did she? No, because I'm not wrong. Might seem like an obvious one, my darlings, but if you want to bring more drama to your practice, you might want to think about your clothes. Definitely the accessories and the clothing that you use, the colours, the patterns, the style, what kind of emotional memory it conjures up for you to wear certain clothes. All of those things are included in bringing a more sort of like a performance angle and maybe a more intense flavour to your workings and your craft. For me, enclothed cognition is absolutely paramount. I dress always for the job that I want to do. I think very carefully about how I dress, from how I dress when I go and see people and go to certain events, how I dress when I go to protests, how I dress when I go out clubbing, how I dress when I'm doing magic, how I'm doing readings, when I'm doing readings and stuff. I think about the jewelry that I want to use. I very often consecrate and program my jewelry in advance. I think about the colours that I'm going to be wearing and why am I wearing those colours. I have a very conscious emotional connection to what I put on my bag. And I think that that is part of what can really add drama and intensity and focus to a working when I'm doing it, is what I decide to wear at the time. It's not always the case that I want to wear anything particularly special. I have absolutely done spellcraft in my pajamas, okay? And that's okay. I have done workings and devotionals and all kinds of things with tears streaming down my face, in loungewear that I haven't changed for a few days, a complete mess, totally depressed, you know? This is not a video about how it needs to be big and bold and well thought through and it needs to, you know, feel a certain way at the beginning. Not at all. I think witchcraft is for, you know, break glass in case of emergency, when we have absolutely nothing in us to plan anything or even know where any of our clothes are that we would want to wear. Like, we just don't know. We're in crisis. And the craft is very important for those times. But I think if you want to make something feel special and joyful and kind of multi-layered and theatrical, thinking about the clothing that you're going to wear is really part of it. I try not to wear anything restrictive because I like to do the majority of a ritual or spell while seated. And I like to wear things that allow me to go from seated to standing and back again. So I don't want to wear anything too tight, like a tiger. I don't want to do that, but, you know, I definitely feel like one thing that I really have a penchant for is headdresses. I own quite a few of them. I still own my old flower headdress, my little flower crown that I used to wear when I first started the channel. I've still got that one. I still wear it. I've got like bauble headdresses. I've got your more sort of standard autumnal, beautiful witchy headdresses. I've got a couple of headdresses with skulls on them because I work with a death deity, and the archetype of death and the potency of death is very important to me. So, you know, I think that works. I've got shitloads of jewelry. For some of you, you're only going to have a few very key pieces of jewelry. You're not going to be like I am, a kind of collector. But you know what you've got, and you know what it means to you, and you know how you feel transformed or primed for action when you put those things on. And that's what's important. It's not about quantity of stuff. It's about quality of stuff. And you might have different things in the astral realm than you do in the material. At my astral altar, I have a bunch of frogs for familiars. I did not summon these frogs, okay? They just fucking came along and just started jumping all over my shit. And I was like, okay, cool, you want to stay, that's fine. So there are different possibilities, of course, in the astral realm for wearing outrageous clothes, probably some of them that you could never get your hands on in the material realm. If you want to wear the last thing Rihanna wore on the red carpet at the Met Gala, darling, then you can do that on the astral, okay? So definitely do not underestimate the power of doing something non-physical. Words are a big one. Words can take something from your standard brown bread sandwich.
Are you getting dramatic?
To like some ridiculous artisanal eggs Benedict sandwich creation, okay? Like it really, it can take something from shit to champagne, my loves. It really can. Wording is 9/10 of the witchy lore for me. I really feel like that is the whole animal sometimes. And the words that I choose, oh my God, they can just like take me to the top floor straight away, to the point where my ears pop like they do when you go to the top of the Empire State Building. I'm just like, oh, that's the wording that I want. In my book, Rebel Witch, I talk about the use of wording in witchcraft a lot. There's a section in there where I talk about how you should look at the words that inspire you. What was the last thing that really inspired you? Was it a hip hop album you were listening to? Is it political speeches? Is it something from one of your favorite books of fiction or poetry? You know, what is it that really lights you up when it comes to language? What are the quotes that you still fucking remember? Those are the starting points from which you would devise whatever words you want to use, and don't be afraid to steal. Don't be afraid to say, I'm doing those words. I'm reading out this part from the Narnia Chronicles. You know, I'm reading out this part from Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm reading this poem. This poem is what's really necessary. You don't always need to write your own words. You can, you know, you can read some words from Wu-Tang if you wish, okay? Gestures. Gestures can be big and bold and performative and sweeping or violent. You know, like really get into it. As I said earlier, it's very, very cathartic to have that physiological part going. And for whatever your abilities allow, you can really be explorative when it comes to what you do with gestures. And if you find that you actually play the small game when it comes to gestures, and you wish you did sort of do more with your hands, or you stood up and you walked around and you really brought your whole body to the process of carving out sacred space, to the process of energy raising, to the process of gesturing to things and bringing things together like a fucking conductor. If you know that you don't do that, and you feel from watching this video like you would like to do that, that is your next challenge. Do that. Feel into what you're doing. Command the fucking space, you know? That's really part of what the art of dramatic witchcraft is about. I want to talk a little bit about performance and evocation before I end this video. I think that it can be really, really potent to bring a specific energy or a specific personality, a specific being to you, and actually enact that specific energy. Enact it, okay? I can't remember if I've said this on the channel before, but I think I have, or I've said it somewhere along the line publicly anyway, that it really, really helps me to sometimes really evoke the spirit of Freddie Mercury into me. I'm not saying that I actually fully like download and invoke him. I'm not saying like, okay, when I open my mouth, it's actually the spirit of Freddie Mercury that is speaking. I'm saying that I really like evoke the whole sensation of his beingness. I've watched a lot of Freddie Mercury's stage performances over the years. I've really paid attention to what he does with his body. And if you watch Freddie Mercury on stage, you'll realize that he was a consummate physical magician. He was exceptionally strong in his ability to hold something gestural, right? And of course, this is part of the art of camp, naturally, but it's really the art of like making a performance so sacred as well. And really knowing that you can make yourself big, right? And so that really was helpful to me, like watching him, watching his facial expressions, watching what he does with his jaw. Watch what he does with his jaw sometimes, okay? And his neck, he's holding a position. And in doing so, he's bringing such an energy to it that it's actually riling the crowd up. And I find that really useful and helpful. I've also found it really helpful to kind of evoke in my imagining what was the personality of Joan of Arc and evoke her on horseback, sort of riding out to fight the English, you know, evoking her bravery on trial. Just the thought of that. I've done that a lot. It's not just her words that I use. It's not just her story that I connect with. It's not just her in sainthood that kind of links into my, you know, fruity Catholic witch vibe that I have. It's also that sense that like I need to become Joan of Arc within myself. And that becomes something that is very performance based, right? Like try and do it now. If you just think about someone with a really strong character, it could be like a soap opera character. It could be, you know, someone from a film. It could be someone from your favorite work of fiction. It could be a rock star, could be a deity, could be a relative of yours, right? Or a friend. Think about them and just imagine for a moment that you're allowing the energy, the essence, the attitude, the life journey of that being to come into you a bit. And you're going to start to walk around your house like them. You're going to touch things like they do. You're going to make little remarks like they would. You know, you're going to dance like they would. You're going to put on some music that they would listen to. And you're going to kind of like own the space as them for a while. I think that that is one of the most powerful parts for me of bringing more drama to my craft. And I know that there's a danger with this video that people are going to hear the word drama and they're going to think, oh, fakery. You mean fakery, right? But maybe I just mean glamour. But I don't mean that. What I really mean is like, yes, there is something about it when you evoke the spirit of something, when you bring something into evocation, right? When you bring to mind the memory and the essence of something and you make it one with yourself, right? There is something about that is about performance, but there's also something about that that's about pure potential and knowing that you can own the key to that lock, you know, that you can have that for yourself. You can also bring to mind and like evoke within your energy a certain archetype within yourself. We all have access to all of the archetypes. I'm going to leave a video down below that I made a while ago about working with archetypes. I have meant to make so many more videos on this subject, my darlings, but there is so much good stuff out there, which I'm really, really happy about and grateful for that so many other people talk about this in such a cool way and write books about it and stuff. But I'll leave a video down below that I made about working with archetypes. But what I will say is that in the process of having that drama added, you know, to your craft, you can say, I'm going to bring forth the archetype of my inner hermit. I am doing this working from my inner hermit's perspective. I bring my hermit to the front. I bring my warrior to the front. I bring my wise mage to the front. I bring my lover to the front. I bring my healer to the front. I bring my wounded child to the front. And I let my wounded child lead the way. My wounded child will show me the answer, right? You have all of these different moving parts inside of you. You contain multitudes, as Walt Whitman put it. And I think that it's really beautiful sometimes to say, I'm going to allow this piece of me to come through. And it is from that piece of me that I'm going to do this. That piece of me is going to lead me. And I'm going to leave a video down below as well about working with your parts and really coming to understand yourself more from that. Because in watching that video and doing some of that work, you might be able to understand how that then threads into your witchcraft as well. You know, so that might be a really exciting exploration for you. Darlings, thank you so much for allowing me to do this video for you. I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget that if you want to get uber dramatic and you want to go further than you've ever gone in terms of theatrics and stuff, don't forget to ground, don't forget to eat something and just chill, take some deep breaths, you know, do something that is relaxing for the nervous system. You're going to get so much fun and so much catharsis and so much creativity out of drama. But I think it's also really good to then have your lovely little rest period, okay? Go back into your shell, however far in it you usually are, you know, and just chill, you know, watch some Netflix, you know, have some snacks, have a little nap maybe, and really then just allow yourself to unpack what it is that has happened for you as you've gone through the motions of any of the work that you've done. Let me know down below, how dramatic are you? How much drama and like gesture and boldness, darling, do you tend to bring to your craft? Could you stand to bring more to your craft? Would you like to? And what are the ways in which you're planning on experimenting with that? Darlings, if you want to join me for the afterthoughts episode that is attached to this video, then it's only available for my doll faces and pop tarts over on Patreon. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this over on Patreon, okay? I'm going to be talking a little bit about my history with drama and acting and stuff, and how I came to be the dramatic witch that you see before you today. I'm going to be sharing some of the experiences as well that I've had in my own sort of explorations into dramatic witchcraft. So come and join me over on Patreon for that if you would like to. I'm also praying a 9-day Rosary Novena next month. I'm about to put the details out about that shortly. So if you want to join for the month of December, you can come and have a lot of fun praying with us for 9 straight days. You don't need a rosary for this, but if you want to grab one now so you can get in on the fun with your own beads. But if you just want to like listen along and contemplate along while I pray the rosary, you are much welcome to do that as well. Or you can use any other prayer beads, any mala beads, any like long string of paste pearls that you have. It's all good. My Christmas and winter readings are out. My Yule readings, I've got a Yule reading, New Year reading, the Snow Queen reading is back. There are 4 seasonal readings that are out at the moment. I'm going to leave the link to all of the goodness down there below. I'm doing pretty good with my schedule for December, my darling, so there is still quite a lot open. So please come along, grab yourself a seasonal reading or any other reading that takes your fancy in my shop. I also do witchy mentoring, tarot mentoring, spiritual counseling, all that good stuff. So come and work with me one-on-one. Don't be shy. Give me a try. I'm affordable and I will not bite.
Are you getting dramatic?
Much, okay? All right, darlings. Much, much love. Keep it dramatic and blessed be. Mwah.